morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. Your coach here, Coach Wood. Just wanted to go over some talking points. Uh, just some quick things, some the fallout from the Madrimov and Crawford card. Some of these tweets going back and forth between Turki and Canelo and Crawford. I want to talk about the Canelo and Berlanga card a little bit and go into this Virgil Ortiz and Bohachuk card. So first and foremost, I'm gonna go over what I think is next for all of the major fights from that card this past weekend. First and foremost, Jarrell Miller and Andy Ruiz. That one, I think the best thing would be to run it back, but Andy Ruiz has to recover from that hand injury, nasty hand injury, clearly broken. So he's going to have to recover for some time. So Jarrell Miller can't wait for that. He's going to have to line up his next fight. But what his next fight should be, I mean, I would like to see him and Bacoli. Honestly, him and Bacoli would be a good fight. Two massive heavyweights. Both looked fairly good in their last fights on the same card. So yeah, I think that would be a good one to see Bacoli, the juggernaut. People saying they get Foreman vibes from Bacoli, which is great. And Jarrell Miller could really prove himself with that test that he belongs in that upper echelon of heavyweights. So yeah, I think Jarrell Miller should look to a Bacoli fight if Bacoli is up for it and if his team is up for it, same as Jarrell Miller. That would be a good fight for them. Me personally, I would favor Bacoli because Jarrell hasn't really impressed yet. He's looked way better than his last fight with Dubois, but still not thoroughly impressed where he was before the PED allegations and the suspension. Next, El Rayo, Jose Valenzuela, after defeating Pitbull. Now, I think he solidified himself as a true 140, a true contender, a true champion at 140. He defeated Pitbull, one of the more celebrated 140s, even though I didn't think 140 was really his weight class. He's really short, got really stubby arms, really limited in his offense. But, a champion nonetheless. And Pitbull did what he had to do to get that belt. He beat a big 140 in Rolly Romero. So, he earned his belt. He earned his way. But El Rayo handedly won that fight to me. He boxed him up. Looked great. Gotten some rough patches here and there, but it's boxing. You're going to get hit. You're going to go through rough patches. There's going to be downs and ups even through the fight. So, yeah, great fight from Valenzuela. Now, for him, I would like to see him up against one of the other 140s. People are talking about him and Teofimo. Might be a little soon for the Teofimo fight. I mean, he is a champion, so it's not really too soon, right, if he wants to unify. Other 140s out there, I would like to see him against someone like Richardson Hitchens. I believe the Catterall and Regis fight is off, so I would like to see him up against either a Regis or a Catterall in the future. Maybe if Josh Taylor is up for it, even though he's looked like more of a shell of himself lately, but that would be a good name for Valenzuela to win if he can, be successful. So somewhere around that tier would be great for him. Yeah, other than that, he just needs to keep moving onward and forward. So next is Pitbull. Now, Pitbull, yeah, that's a tricky one because he did get his taste of championship caliber, so he can't move down in the 140s. He can't face bums anymore. He has to face either gatekeepers or higher in the 140s. I don't see him competing with many of those guys, honestly. His size and his reach, it's not translating well. He did beat Rolly, but Rolly had a bad night, of course, and Rolly is Rolly, and he hasn't been the pinnacle of expertise in boxing, so we can't give him too much credit for that. Obviously, great win, stopped him and everything, but it's Rolly. You know how we all feel about Rolly and his skills. I don't see him really standing with the big guys at 140 and being massively successful. I'm not sure if he'll have another championship run unless he has a very curated championship run at 140 again. So, Pitbull, I think his best move is go back to 135, but if he can't make 135, he's going to have to carefully move through 140 till he's ready for another championship fight. And next, we got Jared Anderson. Whew. Rough fight for him against Bacoli. He showed that there's levels, and he's not up there yet. Everybody was trying to hail him as the next great American heavyweight, and he fell extremely short. It's going to be a tough road ahead of him because this heavyweight division, these guys are massive, big punchers, and he didn't look like he had the power to even make Bacoli think about what he was doing. It was a landslide, honestly. It was a landslide, and an ugly one at that. I think his next move, obviously, take some time, heal up, get his mind right, get back in the gym. But me personally, I think he should look to probably try to go down to bridgerweight or cruiserweight. He came in 252. I think he can make it down there, and I think he can have a great run at cruiserweight because at this time he's too big to box like the small guys for all 12 rounds, and he's too small to stand with the big guys. So he's just stuck in a real weird middle area that's not favoring him right now. His defense is still leaky. He was the same fighter that we saw against Charles Martin the 3-4 fights ago, getting hit with a lot of the same stuff, same opening. So he really needs to retool, stick with his coach he got now, because it's not like he got a bum as a coach. He just needs more time with him. They have to gel better, and I think he just has to consider possibly going to cruiserweight, something like that. It's just the size difference is going to be massive against all these bigger guys. Him versus an AJ, a Gypsy King. Even Usyk had to grow into that heavyweight division, but I don't think he's going to be too successful there with those guys. I think a cruiserweight run would probably be best for him. And of course, we have the main event: Terence Crawford versus Madrimov. Now, my takeaway from this is that I'm starting to see Terence Crawford's age catch up to him a little bit. He's starting to look a little slower off the rip, and he's starting to look like his reflexes are slowing down. He used to be a quick catch and counter guy, and now we see him taking 3 right hands in a row with no return. It's just a slight dip, but it's there. It's there, and I see the weight is gonna be an issue. It looks like he's not gonna have the same, obviously, power at that weight, and he's gonna have to be a lot more conscious of the power coming back at him at that weight. And Father Time's undefeated. He's not getting any younger. He's touching 37 soon, I believe. I don't think he has very long left at the very top level, so I understand why he's trying to cash out, which he should be trying to do. He should be trying to cash out, but it looks like this whole Canelo thing isn't happening, and after that performance, even Turki doesn't want it anymore. So I think Turki saw something and he said, alright, there's really no point in making that fight. Plus, they're going back and forth. Canelo's calling his shots. He wants things his way, so he's going to move on. I think Crawford should move on and stop with this back and forth with Canelo, because it's not getting anywhere. It's like him and Boots. It's like the back and forth should just die down, because clearly nobody's budging. I think he should stay at 54, campaign at 54, try to get a Virgil fight if Virgil is successful. Maybe the winner of Virgil and Bohachuk. Maybe a Tim Tszyu in the future. A couple more fights just to fill out at 54 and see if he still got that it factor to him. But at this rate, I think he should leave the Canelo fight alone. I don't think he's going to be able to jump 2 weight classes after already jumping 1 more and not even being massively successful there yet to challenge Canelo. I honestly think it will be a landslide win for Canelo. So I think he should campaign at 54. I think he could be successful there for as long as he's in the game, and he can make some major fights there. He can make a Jamal fight between 154 and 160. If that's still on the table, who knows where Jamal is now? Jamal's talking about coming back, so maybe he can make that fight. Um, a Virgil, a Bohachuk, uh, a Fundora, and possibly the rematch with Errol. So even though I personally don't want to see it, I don't think it will go any different. A rematch with Errol, the people would like it, but me personally, I don't care for it. But I think Terrence should stay at 54 for a while, fill out there, and see if he can take it to 60. But that Canelo fight, I believe, is just raps. That shit should not happen. I don't think there's no benefit to Canelo there, and it's not appealing. Honestly, I think it's a landslide. I like Crawford, but I got to be realistic. From what I've seen, it's not happening for him. And speaking on that Madrimov and Crawford card, can we take a sidetrack and just acknowledge the fact that Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson was going back and forth in the crowd like they really was gonna come to blows? Cut it the fuck out. Like, Loma's talking about, oh, we could fight right now, and like, bro, you just said you don't want to fight for the rest of the year. Like, which one is it? That whole shit came off as corny as fuck to me. It was more funny than anything because I didn't believe neither one of them. It just looked like a fucking episode of Jerry Springer on that side. That shit was weird. Like, neither one of y'all was gonna do anything in that crowd that night. None of y'all was gonna even box that night. Like, Loma, take your time off. Stop getting into it with people when you clearly don't want to box for the rest of the year. You got to find your motivation again. And Shakur, just find someone else that actually wants to fight, and go do what you got to do. Stay off Twitter though. Stay off Twitter, please. Yeah. Other than that, like, cut it out, guys. Like, don't nobody believe that shit. Next, we're gonna touch on Turki Al-Sheikh going back and forth with Canelo, and this whole Canelo versus Crawford thing. Apparently, reports are that he doesn't even want the fight anymore. Canelo's asking for too much. Canelo wants to call the shots his way, and Turki wants to call the shots his way. So I don't think it's happening. It's never going to happen, and I don't think it should. So they started going back and forth on Twitter. And it's honestly a nonsensical thing. Canelo doesn't need Turki to sell, and Turki got his own thing going on, so I don't know why he would have to go back and forth with Canelo. Other than that, it's just a lot of petty back and forth. Turki goes on to criticize Canelo, saying that he only wants easy fights now, and Turki's going to make big fights that he wants to see. So he's basically calling Canelo a duck. He doesn't want to fight hard fights. He just wants to ask for these exorbitant amounts of money just to avoid these guys like Benavidez and Crawford. And Crawford goes on to say that he is a threat to Canelo's legacy. Like, Canelo's afraid to lose. Honestly, Canelo already has losses on his record. I don't think he's afraid to lose. I don't think he will lose to Crawford, especially not after that last performance. I think Canelo just wants to do what he wants, and as much as we hate it, he's earned the right. He's on his Mayweather era, and he doesn't have to do anything anybody else wants. He brings the bag wherever he goes. Whatever he does, he brings the Mexican fans out. Now, me personally, I don't like any of these fights Canelo been making lately, maybe except for the Caleb Plant fight. That was cool. But other than that, the Jamel fight I thought was kind of silly. We kind of knew how that would go. People really gave Jamel a chance, but I didn't see it happening. The Munguia fight was cool, but nobody really asked for that. And, either way, Canelo does what he wants. I'm not paying for it, so I don't give a shit. But as far as Turki coming at him, I guess if that's how you feel, like, he just has to know that, like, you don't call the shots with some of these fighters. Some guys are just going to want things their way, and Canelo is one of them guys, and I think Tank would be one of them guys that just kind of, you can't throw money at them in a certain type of way, but if you want to talk money, they're going to give you a crazy amount because they're going to make it worth their while to adhere to your rules. So, yeah, at the end of the day, they really just don't want to do it. Like, and they don't owe him shit, honestly. And that brings me to my next point with this Turkey guy talking about he's the face of boxing. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, you get one award that you probably made them do at your event, and now you're the face of boxing. You are the bank of boxing. You are somebody that provides money for these people to fight. You've never laced up, as far as I know. I haven't seen or heard anything about him fighting or anything like that. Leave the face of boxing argument to the fighters. Stop discrediting these fighters and stop watering down the sport talking about you're the face of boxing. You are the bank of boxing. Promoters aren't the face of boxing. Money guys aren't the face of boxing. It is down to the fighters because they are the ones who get in the ring and risk their lives every time. This notion that you're the face of boxing because you put money behind it is some weird shit. That's some weird shit. You're doing it for acknowledgement. That's some look at me, hey, acknowledge me. People love me. You try to throw money at all these problems and that shit comes off weird to me. Yeah, Turkey is not the face of anything. He is the bank behind some of these fights. And speaking about that last Crawford fight, I'm hearing did not do numbers at all. I'm hearing they lost over 10 million trying to promote that fight. And I don't care who you are, that is not sustainable. You cannot lose 10 million on a promotion and think that you're going to keep doing that for a guy who clearly can't sell. Bob Arum told us many times that he was losing money trying to promote Crawford. Now, if that was just a cop-out for him, we don't know, but it's looking like that might be true to some extent. It's looking like they lost $10 million to do this Crawford fight. I mean, it could be a problem that you got a guy with 11 fights as his opponent that nobody really knew yet. And I think it's a little bit true that Crawford just doesn't sell. He doesn't move the needle for a lot of people. Like, if you took him out in public, 95% of regular people can't point him out in a lineup. He's just a guy as far as the people are concerned. Great fighter. He's for the boxing enthusiast and purist. Yeah, we know him, but we aren't the masses. We are the minority when it comes to people who buy fights. The niche. We are not the people who are putting up the massive money to go see these fights. The casuals are, and the casuals don't really care for Crawford too much. They care for him in a stance that they've heard his name. Okay, yeah, they've seen him fight, but is he exciting enough for them? And I don't think it's so much of a fight thing. I think it's a personality thing. I think it's a social media thing. A lot of these people, you have to be in their eyes. You have to be doing something that makes them want to see you fight. Floyd Mayweather played the bad guy a lot. He talked his shit. He talked well. Like, we can't say so much for reading, but he knew how to talk up a fight. He knew how to talk up a fight. He knew how to play the bad guy, and he knew how to pick his opponents well enough to make you think, all right, they got a chance, and we want to see this guy lose. So he sold. He had that it factor that Crawford just don't got, and it's looking like that's proving more and more true that he can't sell. So again, back to the Canelo argument. I don't blame him. Like, you're not selling. You don't move the needle for me. If anything, he'd be helping Crawford by taking this fight more than anything. So if he don't like it, he don't have to take it. Like, you're not really offering nothing. The same thing they want to say about Boots. As far as Crawford's team, Canelo could say the same thing about them, which I think is cap on the Crawford's part against Boots. I think a Boots and Crawford fight would actually move the needle more because they were so close in weight. They were supposed to fight. And Boots is exciting. Crawford's the known commodity. He's the one that's got the, the praise and the belts. But I think that fight in particular would bring more eyes than any fight Crawford could make right now. So I really think that's a cop-out, to be honest with you, and I think Crawford is just not looking for that fight. That's a young, hungry dog. He's on his Mayweather cash-out area. He's trying to be a cash cow, but he's just not. He's just not a guy who's going to fill seats. So I mean, it sucks for him. So it is what it is. Like, I guess he just doesn't have that it factor, and he's just not a social media star. He's not a star in any right. He's just not filling seats. So I honestly think the Boots fight would be the biggest fight he can make, but clearly he's not interested, and his team keeps making excuses for him, including Bomac. Oh, he doesn't bring nothing to the table. Well, clearly Crawford doesn't bring anything to the table as far as Canelo goes. So you're in the same boat. You want to make the biggest fight, fight Boots. If not, then fight at 54. Do as much as you can. Get your money and retire. It's the same shit. So stop with all the cap and just, you know, tell it how it is. You don't want to fight Boots because, it's dangerous. And of course, it is. But, stop capping. And as far as Turki being the face of boxing, that is some grade A bullshit. He reminds me of a guy that will trick out on all the women, sending all of them cash apps, buying out the bar for them just to have them around. He ain't cracking nothing. He just has the women around. He's buying out the bar just to impress the other guys. He just wants validation. Like, it's really some weirdo shit to say you're the face of boxing when you ain't the one boxing. Leave that to the fighters. The coaches ain't the face of boxing. I won't be the face of boxing. Turki ain't the face of boxing. Eddie won't be the face of boxing. Nobody outside of that ring can be the face of boxing. Leave that to the fighters. That's some corny shit to me. I don't know. That just came off weird to me. Like, now he got this one award. He want to give out cars at his show, and he want to have concerts that took way too long. I'm over here fighting for my life, trying to stay awake for this fucking fight, and you got Eminem prancing along this stage. I love Eminem. I like his music. I've liked his music for a long time, but bruh, I don't want to see this shit. Not for a fight. And this shit taking way too long. We was already up too damn late. Cut that shit out. Cut that shit out. I don't want to see no concerts in the middle of my fights. Get the fights going, please. Now, something which is a little interesting is Teofimo is doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down on wanting to fight Crawford. I guess even after that fight, he saw something he liked, and he still wants that Crawford fight. Honestly, I'm getting a little more intrigued by that fight. But, of course, Teofimo would have to jump up a weight class. No, or two, if Crawford wants him to meet him at 54. So, yeah, that's going to be rough. Now, obviously, I'm going to favor Crawford in that fight. But Teofimo is still young. He's still a energetic and powerful fighter. As far as his punching power, it hasn't really translated yet at 140. So I can't imagine it's going to give Crawford much problems at 54, if that's where they want to meet. But you know what? Like, if Crawford can't get any other fight that he likes, I think Teofimo would be a good fight, because I think Teofimo is a good showman and he will put some butts in seats. So if you want to make some money, I think look into the Teofimo fight, especially if you think it'll be easy. Show the young whippersnapper what you can do, because you obviously don't want the Boots fight. Canelo's not giving you a shot. Everybody else at 54 is tied up right now. So I mean, make a little money, beat up on Lopez if you think it's gonna be easy. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as people think. I think Crawford's starting to slow down, so I give Teofimo a fair shake. But I got Crawford stopping him late. If that fight was to go down. But both these guys are trying to be great, so I can't fault them. Bring it to Turki. See if he'll do it. Maybe he will. Shit. I know Teofimo would like that, and there's nothing else lined up for Crawford right now. Maybe he can, cash a big check after that fight, because Teofimo does, he does sell a little bit. So I think it's even. I think it's a even selling point fight for both guys. So why not make it happen? And finally, we got Virgil Ortiz versus Suri Bohachuk. This is a nice little card too. Couple fights I'm most interested in. I want to see Kenneth Sims again. It's been a while since I've seen him. Since his upset against Elvis Rodriguez, he's pretty much been on an upswing. I think he might have stumbled maybe with a draw or something in between, but No, he's been all wins since his upset of Elvis Rodriguez, and he's been looking phenomenal. Honestly, he did have a majority decision against Akhmedov that was a little contested, but I thought he won as well. I watched that fight, and that was a while ago, over a year ago. So I'd be glad to see him in the ring again. He's fighting Jonathan Romero, 35-4. Not too familiar with his game. I believe I've seen him a couple times, but uh, looks like he's on a losing streak though. So Kenneth Sims should be able to get this guy out of here. A good little fight for him. I think this is to get him back on track, if anything. Nothing too crazy. Nothing. I think it should be a good display for Kenneth Sims. The next fight I'm most interested in would be Charles Conwell. His name has been ringing bells everywhere. I've seen him fight. I haven't been thoroughly impressed, but I recognize what he's doing. He's looking like a good welterweight. Some people in the ether has thrown his name around with boots and cut it out. Yeah, no, not yet. But he should make his own little way, and then when it's time for him to contend for championships, then maybe that fight could happen in the future if Boots doesn't move up by the time he's ready. Yeah. Other than that, he should get this guy out of here. Uh, Kiari Gray, haven't really heard of him. Ranked 160. Conwell is 15, so yeah, he's right in that. He's right in that cusp of becoming a championship contender. He's looked decent. I haven't been thoroughly impressed, but I believe he'll get the job done, and he'll be on his way to a championship fight in the next year or so. And next, it's the ladies: Cecilia Brækhus versus Marciela Cornejo. Uh, I want to see Cecilia Brækhus, even though she's up there in age now. Both of these women, I believe, are, but she's been one of the premier female athletes in boxing over a long span of time. She was up there. Her name was in the mix for years, and now that women's boxing is finally getting up there, I believe her name should be highly touted in the female boxing world. I want to see what she has. Her last time I saw her, she was brawling a lot more than I would like when I've seen her box better. But I mean, we'll see what she got for this fight. I'm just glad she's on a major card again. And same thing with Hannah Gabriels. I want to see her fight again. It's been a minute. And next, of course, you got the main event: Virgil Ortiz and Sergey Bohachuk. I went back through both their fights. Bohachuk, he gets hit a lot. I don't like that, especially not against a Virgil. But he is a tough guy. He's going to throw hands. He's going to throw heavy shots. He put a beating on Mendoza, but Mendoza did survive all 12. So I don't know if he's going to have that stopping power for Virgil to respect. Um, Other than that, we know what Virgil brings to the table. Heavy puncher, heavy puncher. Uh, he likes to get in the firefight sometimes when he doesn't have to. I haven't seen him use his feet as much, but that's probably due to the opponent he had in front of him. He knew he could just walk him down and take him out. But I expect Virgil to be successful. To be honest with you, I think he'll go all 12, and I think he'll come out with the decision. Now let's talk Canelo and Berlanga, the press conference shenanigans. Now, it started out with Berlanga trying to be real respectful, real humble, and then he said he dreamt of this. He was dreaming of Canelo. Little sus. That's when things kind of went awry, and it showed that that and the Caleb Plant exchange showed that Canelo has absolutely zero respect for Berlanga. This was a cherry pick fight. He gets to do whatever he wants. He knows Berlanga doesn't stand a chance. They was having words back and forth once he realized, like, hey, Canelo's being disrespectful when I was trying to be humble and respectful. So he started to talk his shit back. I hope he comes to fight that night, and we'll see what the rest of these press conferences in the future and the weigh-ins have to offer. But so far, it's looking like Berlanga's gonna get in his own head, and I think Canelo's living there rent free. So I think Caleb Plant's still in there living rent free. So they're just roommates in Berlanga's head, and that's clearly not going to prove well for the fight. But we'll see. It was fun to see. It was a nice little back and forth, but nobody believes Berlanga has a chance. And after going back and watching a few more of his fights, we still don't believe it. Not at all. And that's it. That's all I got for y'all today. Thank you for tuning in, watching, listening. It's your coach, Coach Wood. You'll catch me on Instagram with some shorts, Parabellum Pod. You'll also see me on Philly Side Boxing Podcast as well with my guy JD. So, I'll see y'all around. Thank you. Keep your hands up, roll with the punches, and get a win. I'm out.